Hello there. I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the people who inspire me. Well, I guess I should be genuflecting or kissing the hand of this lady that I have as my next guest because she is the great-granddaughter of design royalty. And she's going to tell us a little bit about where and when she inherited this title. But she also has her design firm that she started herself. And I think it'll be of real interest. So welcome, Parrish Robe.
Thank you so much, Joe. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Well, now tell me about your great-grandfather, Archibald Brown.
My great-grandfather, Archibald Brown, was my mom's grandfather, so he is my maternal great-grandfather, and he was a pretty prominent and prolific architect in the Northeast, specifically the tri-state area of New York and Connecticut, and sort of a lot of work on Long Island. At the turn of the century and all up through the 1950s, and his firm was Peabody, Wilson, and Brown, and he specialized primarily in residential homes that were, kind of the estates of the Gold Coast of Long Island at that time.
Well, he also had a wonderful style because he lived in River House, and I did a little research and I saw one of his installations and it was very much au courant, what's happening today.
Yes.
Minimalism.
Yes.
Which I thought was spectacular.
It is. And I really was, he's been a big figure in our family. Everybody, we all kind of know that we have this great-grandfather who was a prominent architect and very talented. He went to architecture school in Paris at the turn of the 20th century. I don't want to butcher the name, but Beaux-Arts. It was the top architecture school in Paris.
Right, and in those days, that was a feat.
It was a big deal.
Because there were no airplanes that got you there.
And as a result, my great-grandfather and his wife, his first wife, Helen Parrish, who became Helen Parrish Brown, I'm named after her. So Parrish is...
with a double R.
With a double R.
Right.
So, yes, key. And she and he moved to France at the turn of the 20th century after they got married while he was in school there. And so my grandmother, one of she was the second of their 5 children, she was born in Paris.
Oh.
And so French was spoken in their household, and my grandmother, who was their second child, she made us call her grand-mère, and we always laughed because we were like, we're not French, why are we calling you grand-mère? And she made us call her that until she died at 94 years old because she had been born in France and she loved being born in France.
Well, Eleanor Brown, who was the head of Macmillan,
yes,
which is one of the design firms that gave birth to Albert Hadley,
yes,
Mark Hampton. I believe Mario Boada even worked there for a short period of time. Yeah. But she lived to be 100.
Yes.
And she was your step-grandmother.
She was my step-great-grandmother.
Oh, I see.
Because Archibald Brown was my great-grandfather, and when my maternal great-grandmother, Helen Parrish Brown, passed away in the early 30s. She died pretty young, and he remarried Eleanor Macmillan, and she became Eleanor Brown.
And that's amazing because she was the shining star of design.
I know.
And a design legend.
Yes.
So tell me, because you had the only interest in design in your family. So that DNA trickled down maybe from your grandfather.
I think so. My family, my great-grandfather, who I obviously never met, he designed a very famous home in Southampton called Four Fountains. So there was a lot of kind of glamour around him, and just, he was sort of a little bit of a legend even within our family.
Well, the Parrish Art Museum in Southampton.
And the Parrish Art Museum in Southampton was funded and founded by my great-grandmother's father. So his name was James Parrish, and he had a brother who was very big into art and collected art. So that is sort of how the Parrish Art Museum started. And, my family was a fixture out in Southampton for many decades.
Now, that love of design that
Yeah.
you have remained dormant until you decided to take matters into your own hands. You're a single mom.
Yes.
And you have 2 children.
I do.
And I cannot believe this because I'm sitting across from you and I'm looking at your shining blue eyes, which match your turquoise necklace. But that was no accident, obviously.
Yeah.
So how did you start your own firm? How did you realize that you had this design talent?
In 1980 or early 1980s, the book about Macmillan Inc., there was a book written about Macmillan Inc., a beautiful tabletop book. It came out. All the members of our family got a copy, and my mom was a writer. She was an academic. She was not really into design at all, and nor were, it felt, many members of my family. They just didn't do it as a profession or otherwise. And so the book comes to our house, and I'm like 8 years old or whatever, and I opened it, and I had a dollhouse, which I've told you, and I got a dollhouse at 6 years old, and it was incredible, this white, huge dollhouse, and I was obsessed with it. So I would just get lost, and I grew up an only child, so I would get lost in playing with the dollhouse, and I was totally fine with that. I would make my mom take me to go get furniture for the dollhouse. I couldn't wait to furnish it, redecorate it, the whole thing. So this book comes out on my step-great-grandmother and her firm, and I said, wait, this person is in our family? Like, this exists as a job? And it was my first kind of awareness that I could do what clearly was a passion from a very early age. I immediately was set on this being my path. It was kind of crazy, actually.
No, I believe in it.
And from that age onward, they didn't offer decorating classes in the high school I went to. This wasn't, it wasn't really, I think it's become a much bigger opportunity now for younger people, and there's more programs.
It's changing, though.
Very much so.
Much changing.
So for me, it was a singular path that I knew I always wanted to follow. I just kind of ironically didn't know how to make that happen, unless, let's say, I were to go ask Macmillan for a job, you know. And
well, we have a great amount of listeners who are design students, and they too are asking the same questions that you asked yourself.
Yes.
But you went to work for a very, very prestigious,
yes,
I would say, designer, Suzanne Reinstein.
Yeah.
Who I adored.
Oh,
and when she and I came to California, we bonded because she had a vision that was like John Fowler, who is the very famous English designer,
Yes.
moved to California, what he might do.
Yes,
And she found the
yes.
very special things, and she would have these salons or book signing or events.
Yes.
And bring these people together
Yes.
in California.
Yes.
So how did you connect with Suzanne?
I do really believe in serendipity to a degree, or kismet.
There are no accidents.
I believe that. I really believe there are no accidents.
Oprah
And,
taught me that one.
my uncle, so my mom's brother, again, it was sort of known in my immediate family that Parrish wants to be a decorator, or that she really is just like obsessed, And when I moved to Los Angeles in 2001, I had begun classes at the UCLA's extension program, essentially, for interior
Which
design.
I hired many interns
Yes, it's
from.
excellent.
Yeah.
I had a bachelor's in psychology, which also has come in handy for sure.
Absolutely.
And I had a minor in art history, which has also come very much in handy. But I knew I needed to at least have a start in footing with a school that offered classes, and I wanted to do it anyway. Like it was exciting to me. So I began at UCLA, and my uncle had given me one of the very first books on Suzanne, and it was called Designing Women or something like that, and she was just profiled in the book along with maybe, I don't know who else was in the book.
I remember
honestly.
the book.
It
Yeah.
was like late 90s.
Yeah.
So I got the book, and Suzanne, I think, was the only designer profiled in Los Angeles. So I walked into Hollyhock. I just
you
walked
did?
in,
Good
and
for
I
you.
said, and now he's one of my dearest, he really is one of my absolute dearest friends, Rajai Corey, who he kind of helps Robert Stillen, a very prominent designer in New York City, kind of runs his operation. So we're design geeks together. He was working in Hollyhock, which was her retail store,
Right.
and he took my resume. I said, hi, I bought a book or a candle or something, and I said, I really want to work here.
Right,
He
exactly.
said, okay, I'll take your resume. He passed it on to Joe Nye, who was, helping Suzanne with both Hollyhock and her design business. And, they were partners, essentially. And I got the job. So.
Well, I think that is such good advice, because I can remember my wife telling me about her father. She was staying at the Barbizon in New York, and she wasn't sure exactly what she was going to do. And her father said, go find a building where you would like to work. And she saw the CBS building, and she said, that's where I would like to work.
Yes.
And she just went in and applied for the job.
Yeah.
And then she wound up working for Mr. Paley.
Wow.
And that's where we met, at CBS.
Wow.
So I think the impetus of you to go in and say, I want to work here.
Yes.
I think that's what many people today should do.
I do too. And I think there was really, the internet wasn't at all. It was just the beginnings of it. So some businesses didn't even have websites yet. There
Right.
wasn't the higher, this more digital way that you apply for jobs or can, I don't want to say hide behind it, because it's also opened up a whole, wealth of places where you can apply for jobs. But for me, I also had one friend who knew Suzanne and Joe kind of socially. So I went in and referenced that person. It was just very old fashioned. I just walked in, said I wanted a job,
Right.
had my resume, referenced this other person, and they did call me back.
Uh-huh.
And
So
I
you were
got-
there for how many years?
I was only there for about 15 months. It wasn't very long. In that short span of time, Joe Nye sat with me. He was really like such an incredible teacher, as was Suzanne. They sat, we had the old school drafting, the pencils, the scale rules. I would just watch them, establish furniture plans. They pick fabrics. I mean, it was enthralling. I couldn't believe that this was a job.
Right, exactly. But then you segued into a design firm, working
Yes.
for major designers.
Yes. So this friend Rajai, who still is, he's almost like a godfather to my children now. We've been dear friends for 23 years. He did begin working at Michael Smith. And so he said, listen, there are 2 positions that are open here right now. I hope I'm not, Suzanne, we love you. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to do this. But there were 2 senior designer positions that were available because Skylar Samperton and Anna Hackathorn were leaving. And I interviewed for one of the positions, and I got the job. Michael offered it to me.
I
on
think
the
this
spot.
is so important because, just like the song, you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when
Yeah.
to fold them. And you
Yes.
cannot be beholding. You've got to
Yes.
follow your dream.
Yes.
And that's what you did.
did.
And that was a wonderful thing as a single mom. I mean, I don't know how you did it.
At the time I wasn't, now I am single. At the time I wasn't, and I had a husband at that time, and he was very supportive,
Oh, good.
actually, of the process, because he also, one of the things, he was trying to establish himself in the film business. So we both had dreams, creative ones, that we wanted to pursue and fulfill if we could. So I did have support at home. And at that time I didn't have children yet. So I was able to do more of a grind, if you will, at a very demanding and incredible design firm.
But you had the energy to do it.
And I did. I was
Yes.
8. But I couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe that he hired me. He hired me on the spot. It was wild. And then I began working there, and the other position was filled by my dear friend and former business partner, Joe Lucas. So he and I would then go on to open a firm ourselves, but that's how we met.
Joe has been my guest.
I
here,
do.
And we share growing up on the Jersey Shore. So,
yes, Jersey Shore.
So it's really been fun to
Yes.
see him grow
I know.
in his own way. But, sometimes these partnerships split.
Yeah.
And they, it's like fusion. It creates its own,
Yeah. Well, and Joe and I, we became really, really close working at Michael Smith. We are from the same part of the world, if you will. We knew socially people in common. I'm from Long Island. He's from New Jersey. We're the same age. He's a year older, but that's okay.
We won't tell him
Don't
that.
tell. Joe, I
So,
love you.
I love your style.
Thank you.
And I want to know how it evolved. How are you inspired? Because you're a little bit country, you're a little bit rock and roll, you're a little bit today. You really have the essence of the classics.
Yeah.
But you are able to spin that into your own design schemes.
Oh my gosh, you're very kind.
It's true.
Thank you. I think Joe Lucas and I would talk about this a lot. I think together, we had our partnership for 10 years, and our taste evolved together while we worked together. I always, because of my roots on the East Coast, I think I came from the book on Macmillan Inc. and the way furniture was arranged at that time. Not that it isn't now.
Do you know that she never changed 1 inch of her furniture plan?
I do.
Eleanor Macmillan.
It's incredible.
Brown.
She got it right the first time. So there was no need to redo it.
I know, isn't that so funny?
Yeah.
And I did the research on her, and she said she would repaint.
Yeah. But usually the same color.
Everything went back to its own, and I think it was yellow,
It was
wasn't
yellow.
it, that
it
she
was yellow.
loved?
And it was pretty much just, I think, really, to be blunt, she got it right the first time, so there was no need to reinvent the wheel. And I know for myself, I haven't changed my own home very much. I mean, it's always like a work in progress, but I know for me intuitively, I personally can only live with so much color and so much pattern and so much what have you, and I find a calming presence in my own home because I get to do it for all my clients. It isn't actually what I want for myself. So,
well, we move a lot.
Yeah.
And, and my sisters always say to me, "You're moving again?" And I like it because I love to rearrange.
Yeah.
But once it's set, it's set.
It's set.
And I'm a monotone kind of guy. So, I'd rather the art and the accessories speak for themselves.
Yes.
But I know exactly how it is. But when I found out that this woman, who was the doyen of design, never ever moved anything, but she had exquisite taste.
She did.
Yeah.
And I think, I was lucky enough to, my parents had friends on Long Island who had beautiful homes that had been professionally
Locust
decorated.
Valley, right?
And
Or
Oyster Bay.
Oyster Bay,
but they're very close to one another. And my friends, we had a lot of friends in Locust Valley too. And, I was lucky enough to be exposed to beautiful homes that had been professionally decorated by some of the greats of that time.
Educating the eyes, right?
And I didn't even really understand what was happening at the time, but I knew that I didn't want, they'd say, "Where did Parrish go?" And I was off literally inspecting the upholstery. And is this sofa tufted? Or, what's happening over here in this corner? And my grandmother's apartments were the same way. And my aunt has an apartment in the River House, and it was beautifully decorated. And oh my God, I could just sit in a room alone and just take it in for hours.
Now, how do you work with your clients? Do you sit down and kind of get a sense of what they're looking for?
I feel as though the current clients that I have, most of them are either repeat clients or direct referrals from additional family members of theirs or people, that it's just been word of mouth. At the outset, it's understood from my website or even Instagram and what have you that we have the same taste, essentially. You know, I'm not getting asked to decorate modern boxes, although it would be really fun. I just haven't been asked to do that. So there's a shorthand almost by the time my clients and I sit down. I do really go off of the architecture of whatever the home is, that we're either, a lot of the work I do is ground up construction now, so I'm very involved in the beginning, and I do have a decent sized hand in how the architecture is also
Do you ever turn down a client?
Yes, I do.
Well, no, that's honest.
I do. Or, you know, if it isn't a fit, I think we know it quickly, and it hasn't happened often, but if there is a client where they don't gel with me for whatever reason, if it's an aesthetic hiccup in the beginning or budget, or, you know, so stylistically or budget, or often time frame. I can't work miracles, you know, in a short time frame. I can turn stuff around pretty fast, but there has to be a lot of trust in order to, you know, turn something around quickly. So
how do you make your presentations?
It's evolved over the last 9.5 years that I've had my current firm, Cameron Design Group. I now have a computer wizard, my beloved Deontay, and he is able to build SketchUp models. We can do everything in 3D. And he and I sat down, we're doing a big project in Florida, and we sat down yesterday. We've been continuing to build the model for this house. And, you know, I said, you are really spoiling me. I can't even decorate now without seeing this thing in 3D. And I was always able to see it in 3D in my head, but now I have to see it on 3D on your monitor in order to know whatever. So we were laughing.
You're very fortunate to have that.
I am, and I'm getting very spoiled. So, Michael Smith, in the early days when I worked for him, he had a brilliant artist who did all these hand sketches, but combined with the Apple Pen and kind of pad at the time. So it looked like a watercolor, but it was also computer generated.
Wow. And
that was a incredibly brilliant selling tool for all the clients. And I would imagine he still uses it. And I remember, you know, Joe Lucas and I talking about that you essentially were getting a drawing of what your room was going to look like.
Right, isn't that wonderful?
And it really helped to also, you know, squash any fears or what have you. And
do you have how adaptive are you?
Very, you know, it's so funny.
I mean, does someone say, no, I don't like that fabric, or?
Oh my gosh. And you know, I see so much color nuance that if someone doesn't if it's too periwinkle and needs to be more pale blue or sky blue, I'm in. You know, if that's what they see and they don't like it, that I see it too then from their perspective, and I will change it because they have to live with it, not me.
Right.
You know, so ultimately if something's going to be jarring for them and they are like, oh my gosh, I can't live with that color, no problem.
Now, what about the installation? Do you let your clients
I generally have a rule, which is please stay away for the entire duration. Period, full stop. However, it's not to be mean. It's just because, and everything will fit and it'll all work out. It just is, it can be stressful.
You have to massage a little bit.
Yes, and it can be stressful if the client's there watching. And, you know, which I think is the same for everybody. I don't know how my hairdresser does it with me, staring at him in the mirror. You know, he's probably like, ugh, can you step away?
Well, now, one thing about you, which I think is very interesting, is you have a dear friend who does all the styling for your photo shoots.
Yes.
But you don't want to be involved. Now, Joe Lucas is very involved.
Yes, he is. And he always has been. And I always said, you love the accessories, and I do not. I'll do the architecture, and I love laying everything out. But then once we get into the weeds of all the little tchotchkes, essentially, I tend to be like, oh, whatever. But I have very strong opinions about them also. Right. So you can't have it all. So, yes, well, Karen Millay has photographed all my projects, and Frances is the stylist now.
And Frances, who is that?
Oh my gosh, Frances, I love you. Why am I blanking on your last name? All I can see is her Instagram handle, Frances Finds, and she finds all the greatest things.
Well, isn't that great that you have that?
And, you know, it's kind of like the power duo, dream team. When we do shoots, I invest in both Karen and Frances because the photographs, you know, worth it, and it kind of memorializes it forever, and
Yes.
in a way that, Karen can take something that I'm proud of, and I'm like, oh, this room it turned out great or whatever, and she just makes it look like magic.
Right. Well, she has a vision.
Yes,
And I think vision is so important.
it is.
How does it feel now, looking back, that you have your own design firm and that you're deep into design?
Oh, it's real. My daughter is 15, my son is 18. I feel as if I've become a very good role model for them as a working mom. And I am an entrepreneur, I guess. I mean, I've had 2 companies now, so that I'm proud of that. And as far as the design aspect of it all, I truly get to do what I love. I mean, I get to wake up. I think about it 24 hours a day. It's totally obsessive thinking.
That's all right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's a good outlet for that. And I know I'm probably a workaholic, but I'm not totally a workaholic either because I love what I do. So it doesn't stress me out.
It's a passion.
It's a passion.
Right.
I get to make money doing my passion.
Well, now, are there any relatives that are in the design business?
No.
Oh, there
Isn't
aren't.
that- I'm
So-
like, I'm just scanning the quick scan. I have a cousin who is big in the art world, and another cousin who also is in the art world. There's nobody in our family that is a decorator that I've been told about.
Well, so there's no one in the design royalty family that can say she did it. We didn't think she had it, but she did it.
No. And it's, I don't know if my daughter is that into it either. She's
Yeah.
she's worked for me a little bit, and my son's done some spreadsheets, but I don't, it's a niche market, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And are you hiring, or do you have people that have worked for you for a
I
while? or-
have kind of a long-term A-team. I have Devin Henderson, who's worked for me for 11 years. She
Wow.
is incredible. She's about to have her first baby, so today's her last day. We're giving her cake after this
Oh, what fun.
in my office. And I have Rachel Boffman, and she's been with me now for 2 years, but, I think hopefully she'll be with me for a long time. And then Deontay's been with me for 3. I am hopefully a good boss. Everybody has a big personal life and families and spouses. All of them are married. I don't know what their trick is. And they're able to, they're really great
Dedicated.
human beings who are dedicated
Yeah.
and they love design, and I want them to have a personal life too. So
Sure.
I want the office environment to be fun but flexible enough that we can do this and still have lives outside of work.
Now, how long have you had the firm?
Since the beginning of 2015.
Oh, so
Yeah,
it's been
so
a
it's
while.
been almost 10
So
years.
have you seen any change in the way in which designers do business?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the whole Instagram thing alone, even just podcasts, all of this, there's a lot more, I have felt there's a lot more marketing that has been required of designers to get themselves out there. Something that I come from honestly pre-internet days. So this has
Right.
been a learning curve for me. It really has. And I prefer to, I'm not a shy person and I can talk to like
No.
a doorknob. I'm not
That
shy.
That helps.
But I do feel, it's hard for me to get out in front of a camera, honestly. It can be, I'm fine once I'm there, but it's been hard for me to, I just want it to be about the work and not about me. And so that is just, I think, a shift. I've seen a lot of Instagram, like, I'm a decorator. And you're like, do you have any training? Do you have any experience? Like, I don't even understand. Like, how did this come
Well,
to be?
there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting because I will go through, and especially AD is doing now open house. So a designer will walk you through, and a lot of celebrities are
Yes,
doing it.
yes.
And I find it very interesting because I think it's that peek inside.
Yeah.
And of course, the printed page, and of course, I was an editor in
Yes.
chief of a home design
Yes.
magazine, but those are becoming very rare. and it's really concentrating on the new technology,
Yes.
which actually is great.
It is great. And I think and I'm completely a voyeur into all of it as well. And I have, in my Instagram I have so many folders saved for different clients. Like if I see inspiration from, whoever I follow, it's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's a beautiful yellow, or, oh, that could be a great green, or whatever it is, it's changing in real time. It's changing very quickly, and it's exciting.
Well, I think you should consider doing in front of the camera because you have all the attributes. And I just thought those blue eyes of yours are just mesmerizing. But I think you could do it.
Okay,
it's just like
Joe.
talking to a dear friend. I mean, just get over yourself.
Honestly, a lot of people have told me that. No, it is true. So I'm working through that anxiety.
And I think you will be very successful when you do it.
Thank you.
I just am so happy that I've had this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you.
And I think that our listeners will find this very, very interesting.
I hope
Is there
so.
anything in closing that you want to say
I don't-
to the great, big, wonderful design world?
Well, if you're starting out, just keep going. And if you have the passion, I was able to build this into an entire life. And I'm able to help support my family with this career. And it's totally worth going for it. So just do it.
It certainly has been my pleasure, Your Majesty, and your design background, and you really do have it. And I am a firm believer that it comes down in the DNA. So your interest in architecture comes from your great-grandfather.
For sure. It really
Absolutely.
does. I believe it. I do believe it.
I do. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Parrish.
Joe. Thank you.